Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Triangle Offense. I'm Munish, and as always, I'm joined by Nishant. We're at the halfway stage of the NBA. The Phoenix Suns ensure that they go into the halfway stage in second spot in the Western Conference. Did you see that coming?
No, I don't think they did either. Second spot is a bit much. Like we thought top four would be like the best thing for this
Yeah,
team. Yeah,
pretty impressive teams. A lot of teams have been
yeah,
trending up just as the season was taking its break. The Boston Celtics, whom we last discussed, were in a miserable ninth position, have moved up back to fourth. They won the last four games.
yeah.
Miami Heat form has been looking upwards. Toronto Raptors have been looking upwards. So I think our earlier predictions at the start of the season, they're slowly. It took a long time, but they're slowly coming back into place. On today's episode, we'll talk about the trade deadline because it's the last chance for teams to strengthen their rosters and decide what they want to do. It's a phase where you decide whether you want to go for the chip this year, you want to build for the future, and all of that. And a lot of
Right.
rumors floating, and these rumors are just going to get louder as the trade deadline of March 25th approaches. So let's talk about a few of the rumors that have been going around. And I'll start off with the big one because the Philadelphia 76ers are sitting on top of the Eastern Conference. They look like the real deal, but Brooklyn Nets, I think, look like a stronger team on paper and on current form as well, winning 8 of the last 9, is it? So Philadelphia are missing that one person in their team. I think Danny Green is a weak link, and they've been linked to Kyle Lowry. Do you think that's a possibility?
It's gonna be. I think with Lowry, he has a lot of say in whether he gets traded or not, and if he does get traded, where does he go? It would make sense for the Toronto Raptors, just business wise, to trade him. He's aging. He's not getting any younger. He can go add value on a chip winning team or close, and they get some assets in return, which they might not if he goes as a free agent.
Right.
So in several ways, this makes sense for a Toronto Raptors team that's looking to rebuild around a younger core. They're heavily invested now in Fred VanVleet because they extended his contract. Siakam's there. They've got OG. What a set of initials to have. Anunoby. And they're building around that with Boucher and all of those guys, right? So decent core. They can add some shooters, maybe add another uh, high tier backcourt guy, point guard maybe, and that's a solid team in the East. So they've got a project going. They've got an aging superstar. It makes sense to trade him, get some assets in return before he loses his value, and there's diminishing marginal returns, and perhaps potentially he could walk for free because he's a free agent soon.
Yep.
So all of this is fair, great, all right, but he's been a cornerstone of that franchise for so long. For a long time, it was him and DeRozan, and then they traded DeRozan, and they only did that because they were getting Kawhi in return. And who can fault them, right? They went straight to the chip. But Lowry's going to be tough. He's their franchise leader in a bunch of stat categories. He's for sure a contender for a retired jersey in Toronto. So I think what's going to happen is he's going to get a significant say in where he goes, rather than a potential scenario where he just traded to the best bidder and whoever puts together the best package, even if that means he goes to like a Detroit or a Cleveland type lottery team, right? That whose best aim is let's get a high draft pick next season. So that's not going to happen. Philly now is a decent place. Now let's talk about fit. Can Lowry be traded? Yes. Will they want some assets in return? Yes. But do Toronto have high bargaining power? No. The only thing they'll bargain for is that he goes to a good place where he's contending for the title, which would possibly be what's on Lowry's mind. Philly ticks all of the boxes so far. Now then, all they've got to put together is a package that can land Lowry, and of course decide, is that package for Lowry going to make us stronger than we are right now? If you're Philly, that's what you're thinking. Daryl Morey is not one to shy away from a trade. If there's a trade to be made, he'll make it. He seems to be of the disposition that uh, you can't do the same things and expect the same results. Doing something differently would get you better results. And a lot of times it's just forced differential behavior from Daryl Morey. So I have no doubt if there's a trade to be made, they'll move. They'll move for Kyle Lowry for sure. What do they give up in the process? Do they give up Danny Green? I'm all for it. We had this debate with Amit Doshi, right? Amit Doshi still believes Danny Green is a good defender. I would disagree there. I don't think he's. I think the Toronto chip winning season was the last time that he was an elite perimeter defender. I think he's diminished greatly since then, and I would know because he played a full season as a starter for the Lakers. His shooting is on and off. They create great looks for him, so he's still knocking down threes. But Kyle Lowry offers them a whole lot more, and I think Kyle Lowry is a better defender even now, especially in the playoffs, especially in the clutch. He's got a bit of that Jrue Holiday in him. He just elevates his defense in the clutch. So I like that trade. It makes them a formidable defensive unit, sets them up really nicely for the playoffs. Um, when you're going up against the Brooklyn Nets, which I would assume is their biggest threat, if not Milwaukee,
Yep.
you really want that perimeter to be solid because the Brooklyn Nets, your biggest problem is you put one guy on Harden, Kyrie is free. You put two guys on Kyrie, and Harden, Durant is free. Now there's really no one that can defend Durant very well. So your best bet is try and contain the other two. Try and contain the other two, right? Now Ben Simmons is amazing, right? At locking down at least one of them. That's your best shot. In the league, that's your best shot. Who takes the other guy? I don't think Danny Green can take either of James Harden or Kyrie Irving. I think you've got a lot better of an opportunity if it's Kyle Lowry. And I remember last season's All-Star game and that final quarter when things got so feisty. Harden Lowry got Harden's number twice in that game. I know it's an All-Star game, stakes are not quite as high, but that was as competitive a game as we've seen. So I like that trade. I think they should do it, and I think it makes sense for Lowry as well. Puts him in a position to contend for the chip. Makes sense for Toronto. They get some assets in return. Maybe Danny Green, maybe a couple of other pieces, and they get rid of an aging superstar, and they part ways amicably, sending him where he wants to go. I think it works best for everyone. It's a good trade.
I really think that'll make Philadelphia 76ers the favorites in the East because look at the team. Ben Simmons, one of the best defenders in the league.
Yeah.
MVP level game right now.
Yeah.
Tobias having probably his best season ever. And Seth Curry shooting 45%, 47% from three. And you add Kyle Lowry to that mix, I think it makes them even stronger than Brooklyn Nets just because they have the defense to go along with that offense as well. So I think
Yeah.
that really makes sense. It'll take a lot for them to convince Toronto. Like you said, I think they'll have to give away their draft picks. They'll have to give away probably their rookie Tyrese Maxey, which they might probably not be keen on because when the Harden rumor was on, they did not want to part with Maxey at that point in time. So I don't know if they'll do it for Lowry. Something that remains to be seen, but that's a possibility, of course.
Right.
The second player I wanted to talk about who's rumored to be moving also is John Collins, who has made clear that he does not want to stay in Atlanta. He did not sign a rookie extension last season, which makes him a free agent at the end of the season.
Yeah, I thought you were doing Drummond for a second. I'm like, thank God, anyone but Drummond. And I'm just sick of talking about Drummond. I'm sure we will at some point, though.
We'll see if we need to talk about Drummond. We've done enough Drummond. But John Collins is... the Atlanta Hawks have showed no real interest in keeping him because they went ahead and signed Capella. They signed Gallinari as a number 4 as well.
Sure.
So John Collins is kind of a additional piece over there, and they can do without him as well. So, and one of the rumored teams that seem to be interested in him were the Warriors. Now that makes things a little bit interesting, doesn't it? Would he fit into the Warriors lineup? Would
Yeah.
he be a addition?
Yeah, I'd love him in the Warriors lineup immediately, but even more so next season. I think everyone's of the opinion that should Clay come back fit next season, these guys are straight favorites, if not somewhere up there in the top 2 in the West. And people will say this regardless of what the Jazz achieve this season, unless they win the chip, regardless of how Clippers perform, unless they win the chip, right? So you get the drift. Now, once Clay Thompson comes back, you need to free up a slot in that backcourt. Who's the first guy to get the boot? Kelly Oubre, right? From the starting lineup at least, which makes him a kind of dispensable piece. Same with Wiggins, but Wiggins gives them positional cover that the likes of which Kelly Oubre doesn't. So Oubre is dispensable. Sorry, they can absolutely they've got enough picks. They can absolutely put together an exciting package for Atlanta. And I don't think it's going to take that much to convince Atlanta. I don't think John Collins figures very highly in their plans. They got Capella and honestly they're struggling. Even with all of this talent pool, they're struggling. So they probably make sense to go a different direction. Maybe load up the backcourt instead of going forward heavy, right? Have Capella have a solid backcourt, have shooters, and do what Houston Rockets should have done in the first place last season. That seems to be where they're headed. Now, they've already committed to Trae Young, and if they're not, they will. They need to get him paid. Uh, that then leaves very little financial room to operate because Trae Young's going to get a max at some point, supermax kind of contract.
Right.
So then now John Collins, they made a good offer. They made him a solid offer. I forget what it was, but they made him, I think $90 million was it? They made him a big contract offer and he turned it down. So he's clearly looking to get paid. They're not going to do it. I don't think they can afford it. So then they might as well enter trade talks, right? Golden State Warriors, now that's a problem also because they're already the biggest payroll in basketball. They're paying, that's because they're paying Klay Thompson when he's out, right? But when he's back, they'll then have to shed some of that fat. Could be in the form of Kelly Oubre, could be maybe Pascal, maybe they find another piece to drop. But if they add Collins to the mix, it's an intriguing scenario because what do you do with Draymond?
You play small
Maybe
ball.
you,
You play small ball.
what do you do with Wiseman?
You play him off the bench.
There you go, and that sucks. That sucks for a talent like Wiseman. Would that be the best move for him? Maybe he moves out. So, or maybe they play Draymond at the 3, Collins and Wiseman. Not exactly small ball. Completely transforms their lineup because then they've only got the backcourt shooters and
Yep.
then they go deep in the paint. And Draymond's kind of the joker in between. I don't know. There's a lot to be figured out there. It's not a ready-made fit. I'll say that. Collins. I love it to the Warriors just because, get Steph Curry more help to win the chip. But they're going to have a major adjustment play style. So I'm kind of warm on this trade. I'm not entirely convinced, except that it's a great talent piece to add.
All right. So that was John Collins. A new rumor that surfaced up today from The Athletic is that the Boston Celtics were looking going
Yeah.
shopping and they were interested in two big names actually. Jeremy Grant, he's getting a lot of looks since he made the move to Detroit. He's been balling it out there.
Yeah.
And Vucevic from Orlando Magic. How do you think this would fare out? Because Boston has that mid-level exception, right? The 28 million exception, and they
Yeah.
could go out all and get both these stars if they wanted to. Do you think it makes sense for them?
I think Vucevic is going to cost them a fair amount. 20
They'll
plus
have to
easy.
trade a
right?
bit, but not a lot.
Yeah, because Vucevic is going to be 20 plus easy.
Yep.
The way he's been playing, he genuinely can demand a max contract. And there will be clubs that will give it to him, right? If nobody else, New York will pay him. So they've got financially, they've got some figuring out to do. We're hearing a lot of either or talk, right? It's either Jeremy Grant or Vucevic. What if they can put together a deal to do both? And they have pieces to move. Kemba hasn't been the player. He's had a few injuries. So he can still give you some games, but the consistency is way off. It's not the kind of player. Maybe they were better off with Rozier at the time, right? Of course, they would have done that trade if they get a chance to do it again. But in retrospect, maybe Rozier would have been better off. He's balling out in Charlotte, right? So Kemba is a piece that they can maybe move. What I love about Jeremy Grant to Boston is there's almost an instant fit in play style with the team culture in general, which is that gritty, dogged tenacity in defense.
Yep.
He syncs right in with Marcus Smart, with Tatum, with Brown.
Yep.
Then you've got 4 elite defenders. That's a fearsome defense.
Yep.
And I love that. I love that actually more than I like Vucevic, because Vucevic solves another problem for them, which is on offense, where they've also been woefully inconsistent this year. But that play style isn't akin to anything that Boston does.
Right.
So it'd be a bit of a disjointed piece in Boston, like a talented guy but doesn't quite fit in with their flow of game. Jeremy Grant fits right in, man. He can score now. He's proven it beyond question. He can score without really having any great movement around him or somebody setting up plays for him. He can do it off the dribble. He can drive to the paint. And we know he can defend. And barring LeBron James in the playoffs, he took on pretty much every other assignment and did really well last season. Do we blame him for not being able to defend LeBron in the playoffs? Cut him some slack. So I love that fit. That'd be a trade I'd kill to see, Jeremy Grant in Boston.
I agree, and I'm happy for
Vucevic-
Jeremy Grant, who really took that decision to move to Detroit so that he'll have more of the ball and can be the main player in the team, and it's really paying off.
What
Teams
a
are
risk.
interested.
Yeah. But
And let's
don't you? I mean, we love to see it when someone bets on themselves, takes a huge gamble,
absolutely,
which isn't a safe move at all, and then it pays off. That's the best stories in sport.
absolutely. So those were three rumors. I'm also looking at the Clippers. They need to make some moves, don't they? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
they have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, but who else do they have? I don't know. If this is a team that needs to be contending, they need a point guard, I would say, because
yeah.
Lou Williams is not cutting it, Pat Beverly is not cutting it. They really need a elite point guard. Do you see any names coming out for you?
I want to club them with two other teams. Let's talk about the three teams that
Mm-hmm.
should be in title contention.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, all of them need a move at least. Something
Mm-hmm.
or the other. They need free agency, they need somebody to show up, or they need some kind of miracle where someone comes back from injury. One of these is applicable to all these three teams. You have the Clippers,
Mm-hmm.
you have the other LA team, the defending
Mm-hmm.
champs, and then you have the Bucks. All of them
Mm-hmm.
were expected to contend for the title. All of them are discovering there's a little bit of a gap. And oh shit, we have a lot of competition that we didn't think would be
Yeah.
at a level where they'd compete with us, right? Like, where did Utah Jazz come from? Where did the Phoenix Suns come from?
Yep.
Roaring out of nowhere. Last thing they want is Warriors to get any kind of bolstering done. That's in the West. In the East, Milwaukee started off as maybe the favorites, maybe second to the Nets. Then the Nets added James Harden.
Yep.
And then Philadelphia is just kind of all lights out, balling
Unbelievable
out.
season.
Yeah,
Yep.
and no fitness issues, and there's talk of further strengthening their squad. So these three teams, they're kind of on the fringes of the championship race right now, and they need to get a look back in.
Mm-hmm.
Not without problems though. So Clippers are about 6 mil above the luxury tax already.
Right.
They have no first round picks to trade thanks to the Paul
Yep.
George move. They're in a bit of soup. The Lakers, slightly lesser above luxury. I think they've managed their wage bill pretty well so far, but it's not helping, is it? They don't have the personnel right now to be elite, especially with AD out. And they don't have a first. Technically, they have a first round pick, but the earliest first round pick they can trade is 2027, thanks to all of the stuff they gave up in the AD trade. That's not going to cut it. That's like 6 years down the line. Nobody's going to give you prime value for that pick. Not now. Then you got the Bucks. They're actually below the hard salary cap. They're kind of above the soft cap, but whatever. They'll pay that tax. They have some sort of restriction where they can't sign a player till the first week of April, and they can't trade a first round pick either. Much like the
Because
much like
they
the
gave away everything for
Drew
Drew
Holiday.
Holiday.
Yeah, yeah. So these guys have nothing. They badly need a trade. They really don't have much to give away. So they'll have to move. What that means is essentially all three teams will have to move existing pieces to get someone.
Right.
Lakers badly, and I cannot say this enough. They need a big man. They have no bigs right now. AD is out injured. Gasol's a joke. I hate to say it, but Gasol's a joke, and I never thought I'd say that about Lakers in any area, that a Gasol would be a joke in LA. And Montrezl Harrell, again, told you, love him. He's a bit of that Kelly Oubre type hustle guy, but he just doesn't have the size. He's going to get tossed around by Jokic. He's going to get tossed around by Embiid. There's no way he can handle Durant or anyone of that size with that kind of movement. He's just not. He's great off the bench, high energy, high impact, pumps up the team, gets points on the board, gets you a few rebounds here and there, but he can't defend a big. And he's going to get exposed, especially when Marc Gasol can't either. So the Lakers don't have any size. They did not at all replace Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee,
Right.
defensively at least. So they need a big. Blake Griffin, I don't know. That's a lot of money, and you know, it's been a while since he's played any kind of competitive
Yep.
high level basketball. That's not the answer. Drummond, I'm not a fan. You get rebounds. I don't think you get the kind of rim protection you expect from a Drummond. I'd much rather have Dwight Howard back than Drummond, really, in that sense. So the Lakers have some figuring out to do. They need a big badly. Maybe Whiteside is the answer. He's languishing in Sacramento. He's the answer to a bunch of teams. Not very expensive. Led the league in blocks last season and can easily be a double kind of guy for your starting lineup. So that would be a legit option. He's a bit temperamental, but at this point, I trust LeBron's leadership to turn any of those kind of things around, and they seem to
You
have
can
a
do it
solid
with Dwight Howard. You can do it with anyone.
Exactly. And the coaching setup, which is top notch. And there's Jared Dudley on the bench to keep people in high spirits. So that would probably be a punt I would take, because they don't have a whole lot that they can give up either, right? The Lakers. It's not like you want to get somebody in and you give up so much that net you're not really gaining, or you probably lose something. That's the Lakers. Clippers have it tougher because This is a league that's loaded on guard talent, but mostly starting guard talent.
Right.
Lou Williams is
Right.
a bit of a. One second, we lost your visual.
Uh, should be back now.
Okay, where did let me do that again.
Clippers, huh?
We're in a league that has a lot of guard talent, but a lot of that is starting guard talent. There's not a lot of Lou Williamses going around, and the one Lou Williams that's there is in LA, in the Clippers, and he seems to be completely out of sorts at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's probably they have the toughest puzzle to solve because they know what they want, exactly what they want. It's really not out there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they should have gone in on that Derrick Rose trade and taken a part.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean,
Yeah.
they had a perfect solution. Not perfect, but kind of a decent solution in Derek Rose where
Right.
the experience for not so much cost and then that's all you needed.
Yeah, well, you know what? Maybe they can take a shot at Kyle Lowry because he solves. In fact, it's probably a better fit in. He's probably a better fit in the Clippers than he is in the Philadelphia in the 76ers.
Kawhi putting the band back together.
Yeah, why not? Why not? And you know what? That will probably instill more confidence in him than going to a Philly team where probably slightly better off, better position to win, but maybe he thinks we're going to run into the Nets at some point versus the Clippers who might have a better shot at making the finals. And he's done it with Kawhi before, so there's that
Yeah.
to consider. There's also Ibaka there, so there's a whole, let's bring the band back scenario there. So maybe that's their best bet. That's really where they should be looking. Lakers, like I said, Whiteside, and that kind of rounds up their conundrum. Bucks, what do you do with the Bucks?
You're stuck.
It would seem so, right? I mean, Drew's back. He had a clutch game winner today, kind of proving his worth again. I think they've got to run with it this season. I don't think it makes sense at this stage to make any kind of panic moves. They will not get equitable value for anything that they give up. I think they've got to run with it, see how it goes. And they've got Giannis for the long-term future. So see how it goes and then make adjustments in the postseason. I think that makes most sense for them.
Okay, those were the big teams. Do you see any other outrageous moves that we didn't see coming? Do you think Bradley Beal is going to stick around at the Washington Wizards? Because they've been balling now. They won 8 of the last 10. Westbrook is finding some form. Beal is hitting 30 points every game. So you think it makes sense for him to stay there, try to get into a playoff spot, and then let's see where it goes next season?
I just feel like Beal, much like Lillard, sometimes gets in his own way in terms of these off-the-court decisions. At least Lillard is sure of what he wants to do. He's sure he's a loyalty guy. He's sure he's going to stay here and build. He's not about going and tipping the scales in an already tipped the scales kind of franchise. So he's not about to do a Durant or a LeBron or any of those things. I don't know if Beal has the same level of clarity, but it feels like sometimes he gets in his own way. And sometimes you've got to be sinister to get the best of your scenario, right? And James Harden struggled with it for a while before he finally was sure his mind was made up and he did whatever it took to get out of Houston. Sometimes you've got to do that. And Bradley Beal doesn't come off as the kind of guy that will do it. So I kind of think he's going to stick around there, convincing himself of I don't know what. But I think he's going to stick around. But if he moves, he'll be the only marquee movement in this before the trade deadline. I don't think he's going to move though. And I think either now or postseason, there's going to be at least one big move from the Knicks. They've been long overdue. They missed out on Kyrie and KD, largely because it was a dysfunctional franchise. Since then, they've made a bunch of front office changes. They've brought in highly respected names from PR, brand management, and the sporting agency background. So these guys know players. They know how to build a brand. They know how to put a quality product on the court. And they've got the most valuable court in the world. So in the biggest basketball market in the world. So now that they're balling, now that they've got a coach that seems to have figured themselves out, they look a lot more attractive for a superstar to say, I want to plug myself into that setup and then build.
Okay.
And an attractive option for somebody who's already in a similar kind of setup upgrade to the bright lights of New York. I'm looking at Devin Booker maybe. Once CP3 leaves at the end of the season, I'm wildly speculating now. But any superstar in that mold, I think New York are due for a big trade. It's been a while since Melo happened and Hody Melo happened.
That'll be interesting if Devin Booker decides to move east to the New York. But I see Zach Levine, someone like Zach Levine fitting in there well because the young core that they have, they'll add one more young guard, and I think they have a very nice future coming up because I like the team. I like how they're playing now with
Yeah,
RJ Barrett and Reggie Bullock and Julius Randle, and then they have that draft Obi Toppin who's hardly played this season, and
correct.
Quickly who's also a draft pick.
I
Who's
love that. Quickly, I think is heavily underrated. We'll probably
yeah,
see. We haven't yet seen the best of him. And hey, for the last 1 month, they've been the best defense in the league. New York.
yeah, yeah. And if Zach Levine goes there, he and Derek Rose can have their dunk contest in
Oh,
Houston.
yeah, yeah, yeah. If I think that'll be the last thing Derrick Rose ever does as a player. I won't recommend that. Not Lavine of all people. I mean, prime Derrick Rose could take on anyone in a dunk contest, but yeah, not anymore.
All right, so those were the trade rumors. I think we're running out of time, but I'll catch
Sure.
you after the weekend. It's going to be a fun weekend. I'm looking forward to. Did you see LeBron's comments on the Utah Jazz snubs? And I'm just hoping that Rudy Gobert gets the ball in a clutch game at the end and throws it
Yeah, I
outside.
wouldn't be surprised. That was unwarranted. Maybe he has something coming.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch the game
Yeah,
nevertheless, and all those halftime shows and the 3-point contest and the dunk contest, all of that. So looking forward to that, and I'll talk to you after the All Star game.
sounds good, man. Take care. See you.
Bye.